My name is Evan, and this is Coach's Take. Finance is about numbers, and leadership is about vision. Boxing is about heart. I've got a guest here today, Chris Ortega. He is the founder and CFO of Fresh FP&A. And we're going to emphasize that fresh because he is going to be on here giving us a fresh perspective on finance and business strategy. Chris not only is working his business strategy in the business world, but he's also working the same strategy as he would if he was boxing still to this day. Focus, fearlessness, and always moving on that front foot. So Chris is going to bring a fresh perspective. He is authentic. He's got an amazing brand in this city. I'm going to introduce Chris Ortega. How you doing today, sir?
Evan, man, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me here. Excited for our conversation, brother.
I'm loving it. So Chris, here's how the coaches take works, right? So we're going to give our viewers some information on you and your journey, and then we're going to get into one of my favorite segments of this whole show is you're going to give a take on a mentor or a coach or someone who has helped shape your life and how you pay that forward in your practice today. And everybody has to agree to give that take. So are you willing to give that take today?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I got I got a great person in mind to highlight that.
Awesome. So Chris, it is no coincidence that you and I got connected. We have a lot of things in common. Athletic backgrounds. We are both fractional leaders in the space. Indy's not a big town; it's kind of a small city.
Facts.
But you have some of the things that I think that are truly standout. Right? You've been through a business journey. I'm gonna let you tell your story. You've been through startup, through corporate. Your business is international, and you're working with a firm of professionals that are helping businesses. Talk about your role and just a little bit about your background very quickly here to get everybody up to speed with Fresh FP&A.
Yeah, so based here in Indianapolis, Indiana, I did all my schooling, education. I'm a Hoosier through and through. And then, most of my professional background before starting Fresh FP&A, I was always like the first finance hire, always coming in, build, shape, scale, and
Mm-hmm.
exit companies.
Mm-hmm.
I've had the fortunate opportunity of working at 3 different companies that have gone through an acquisition.
Wow.
Most notably was a international marketing platform company, a
Mm-hmm.
software provider. That we were about 27 different countries with about 2,000 employees across the globe. Helped build our America's finance operations, and we actually sold that to SAP, which was crazy because we sold right during the pandemic year. We sold of November of 2020. I stayed over for a year to help with the post-merger integrations of both the companies.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Evan, I found myself at a fork in the road, not only in my life, but also in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I realized 2 things. The first thing I realized is I wanted to use my skills, passions, talents, and experiences to help SMBs grow.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is I felt like there needed to be a fresh perspective brought to
Yep.
finance. So that's why 4 years ago, I took the leap of faith. I lived out those initials and I started Fresh FP&A. And we provide fractional CFO
Mm-hmm.
and advisory services to growing SMBs. I have a team here in the Americas. I have a team in EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, I have a teammate that is running our Asia Pacific or APAC operations as well too. And our entire goal is to help those SMBs grow with financial clarity and confidence as they're continuing to go on their business journey. So
Yes.
that's a little bit about me and a
Yep.
little bit about Fresh FP&A.
Absolutely. So, but there's a whole lot to unpack with that, right? So I think we talked about this the last time. It's like you're lucky to exit one time,
Facts.
and you're a unicorn if you exit twice. You're an
Yeah.
alien, bro. You're
Yeah.
alien. You're alien if you 3 times, man.
Yeah.
Like you got to have some stories. Like we unpacked it a little bit, but just some overarching like to do that. You know, the trifecta.
Yeah.
Give me a perspective on just that thought.
Yeah, I think for me, man, like those 3 exits were all different. The first one was a public company buying another public company, right? I was earlier in my career, I was leading the FP&A functions for our global laboratory locations.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working directly in the team, and our laboratory locations were in Indianapolis, Geneva, Shanghai, Singapore, and Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
And, LabCorp buying Covance at the time was a huge acquisition. That
Yep.
was multi-billions
Yep.
dollars.
Yep.
Then the second one, it was a more smaller, medium-sized business. This was more of a strategic play. So
Mhm.
we had a strategic acquisition where it just made sense for both
Yep.
businesses. We
Yep.
were a software company. We were acquired by an advertising company or a
Mhm.
competitor that was in the space, but they were more upmarket. We were more smaller market. So it was a way for that company to get into the space that we were in and to get in the industries that we were in.
Yep.
So that one was a little bit different. Smaller size company, very nimble. I touched a lot of different areas, not only just in the finance. I worked with our C-suite. I worked with our
Yep.
investors a lot.
Yep.
And then my last one was at Marcis. That one
Mhm.
was by far the best journey, man. Coming in like day one, where there was nothing built in finance. There
Mhm.
was only outsourced bookkeepers, and that's the model that I've seen. A lot of SMBs
Yep.
that we come across now, they have that outsourced
Yep.
bookkeeper model
Yep.
and
Most
tasked
common.
of
Mhm.
building that entire operations up for the Americas, which was for us, it was an international company coming to America. So
Mm.
the company was originally based in Vienna, Austria, and they knew for them to hit the retail e-commerce space and the
Yep.
market that they wanted to, the biggest ICP, the biggest total
Yep.
addressable market is in the
The
United
States.
States.
Yeah.
So coming in and just building out that entire function from scratch. I mean, like I was like employee 20 of the Americas
Yep.
operations coming
Yep.
in. And I'll never forget, Evan, the first day I came in. Like I came into this opportunity and I come in wearing a suit the very first day. I wear because I'm like, this is a international
Yeah.
company. This is
Yeah.
like this is big
Yep.
time.
Yep.
I come in with the suit. And the lead of our Americas operations, great mentor of mine, shout out another great sales leader, Sean Brady.
Mhm.
First conversation I had with him, Evan, I'm coming into the operations and first day, he literally says, Chris, can I have a conversation? At the end of the day, 5 o'clock, he's like, can you come into my office? I want to have a conversation with you. And I'm like, first day I'm going into like I'm like, what did I do? And I'm sitting across from him. He's like, Chris, man, like everybody's excited. We can tell you're excited to be here.
Mhm.
We're building a great culture, but this suit is not going to work.
Right.
And I remember
Didn't
sitting
fit.
across, he was like, "No." He's like, I know you want to establish yourself,
Mhm.
but the culture that we're building here and the America's operations that we're building, that kind of conflicts. So be
Mhm.
yourself." And I never forget him telling me that. And it was like, okay, like I'm gonna
Yep.
be myself. I'm gonna wear my joggers. I'm gonna wear my Jordans.
Yep.
I'm gonna wear it. And he's like, Chris, that's exactly what we want to
Yep.
celebrate.
Yep.
So for me, those three different journeys, man, were so different
Mhm.
because I was at different stages of my life. I was at different stages professionally. I was at different stages of businesses. So
Mhm.
I got to see like all the different ones of them
Yep.
and being part of those stories and writing all those to scale,
Yep.
I think has been one of the most interesting and life changing moments for me.
Yep. So, so sitting down with the sales leader, um, that he gave you a fresh perspective on the culture, right? Not to play on words, right?
Yeah,
But we talked about this, right? Like
facts.
like authenticity in this space is a leading factor in why people do business with you or whoever because
Yep.
you're different, right? So this fresh perspective, and I'm using that as a play on words because your fresh perspective is going to be on the field of finance, right? like
Facts.
like you're trying to change maybe even the perspective of how people view that. Like share a little bit because I think that's the authenticity that I see from what you do in the industry. Share a little bit about that piece, because this is for me. This was big, right?
Yeah, man. I think for me too, Evan, like just being fully transparent and vulnerable for people, man. I always knew my road in finance to the road to CFO, everything was going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that, man, going back to like high school, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like going back to Pike High School where, I was in accounting classes and I'll never forget this moment. I was actually teaching accounting to me. I've always loved like numbers. Obviously, a finance person
Mm-hmm.
loves numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the moment that I figured out that accounting was just basically business algebra,
Mm-hmm.
like accounting, everything about it, assets equals liabilities plus stockholders' equity. That
Mm-hmm.
is called the accounting equation, right?
Yep.
It's called an equation. If you replace X equals Y plus Z, that is assets equals liability plus stockholders' equity.
Mm-hmm.
I built that connection when I was a freshman at Pike High School, and I realized, yo, this is all this is just algebra.
Yep.
And I remember going through that, and my whole approach when I was like working with the teachers, and this is back a long time ago, we were
Right.
using T account paper. And
Mm-hmm.
I was always like, nah, I would go correct the teacher and was like, hey, you're doing this in 5 entries. We can
Mm-hmm.
do this in 3. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
don't have to do this.
Right.
And I always looked at numbers differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that translated into my professional career where I
Mm-hmm.
started off at Ernst and Young. And here's another thing, Evan, like I gotta be just very transparent about. When I was at college, when doing the honors program at the Kelley School of Business and Accounting and Finance, I was the only minority.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only Black Latino.
Mm-hmm.
It's only me,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think like that was a sign of things to come because
Yep.
I'm like I'm always in all these classes.
Yep.
When I started at Ernst and Young, I'm the only minority in my entire
Yep.
program.
Yep.
That's been the journey throughout my entire 20 plus years
Mm-hmm.
in finance. Is like I've always been
Mm-hmm.
kind of what my mentors would say, Chris, you were that pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked on it, I said earlier in my career, man, I remember being in public accounting, which was at the time, man, very, very like fraternity sorority. It felt like that. Like
Yep.
if you went to Butler, if you went to these, you working on these engagements, it was very like clicked wise. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, nah, man, I'm gonna be me.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I'll never forget having a conversation with the audit manager. I won't put his name out there,
Mm-hmm.
but like he said, hey, Chris, like the team's so used to you staying after, and this is during busy season where it's like
Mm-hmm.
mandatory 60 hours a week. And I'm like in this office, 12 hours, 13 hours a day, I'm getting my
Mm-hmm.
work done. And at the end of the day, Evan, I was like, man, I'm gonna go back and chill. I'm gonna go back and work. I'm gonna do
Yep.
something I want to do.
Yep.
And I never forget the audit manager at that engagement set me aside and said, hey, Chris, like, you're doing great work, but you're not spending this time for dinner and this bonding team
Yeah.
time after.
Yep.
I said, I'm
Yep.
working with y'all 15 hours a day.
Yep.
Like, I want to have time to myself. I want to go
Yep.
work out. I want to go do things.
Yep.
So I realized, man, that I was always different. And
Mm-hmm.
in certain situations, I was like, I accepted that because to me, it's about, I want to show up who I am. I'm going
Yep.
to be who I am. This is what you're going to get. And I realized later on in life and just in my career,
Yep.
man, where it's like, not everybody's going to accept that.
Yep.
But that's not a me problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something I have to be like, well, why don't they accept me? Why don't
Mm-hmm.
they be yourself,
Yep.
man? I think in finance, that's what when I was coming up with the business, the whole fresh idea, right? I
Yep.
was like, that was it. I was like, finance feels very stuffy. It
Yep.
feels very traditional. It
Yep.
feels all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I want to bring a fresh view to finance. That's our trademark,
Love that.
fresh view to
Yep.
finance. And that's what we did. And I was
Yep.
like, fresh is definitely the first name. And then when I looked at FP&A, I looked back over my 20 plus years and I said, what did FP&A mean to me?
Mm-hmm.
It did not mean financial planning and analysis. What did I excel at? What did I love? What was I passionate about?
Right.
And it was about being a financial partner and advisor.
Yep.
That was our FPA. And I was
That's
like,
killer.
I said, man, I want to bring the fresh view for it. I want us to be financial partners and
Mm-hmm.
advisors, fresh FP&A.
Yep. Yep.
And that was it, man.
Yep. Well, there's a whole lot to that, and so a lot of the riddle was solved through sports for me, right? Like that. I tell people all the time, being the only minority in a room in some situations, it was never like that in sports because it was so diverse.
Yep.
And so I needed to be a part of that so I can appreciate what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I never allowed myself to be alienated. And it seemed like you had a whole lot into your repertoire of things that you were doing. Never let my work drop. I had to work at a high efficiency level, things of that nature. And what I would say about that, about your name specifically, is that it's important to have in who you are and what you do, that bridge from your branding and your actual body of work and what you stand for,
Yep.
And you had talked about purpose, you talked about passion, you talked about impact. That's something that you can see just in your dialogue that is exuding from what you're saying. But we're gonna keep it moving because I want to share with you talking about athletics.
Yeah.
Talking about athletics now. um, you know, you have this boxing, I guess I would say this boxing
Passion.
passion. Yes, I was going. Didn't want to say the other word I was saying, but you have this boxing passion, right? And one of the things that we connected with is I saw your LinkedIn. You were talking about your trainer. You were talking about training and giving some love on LinkedIn, which you always do.
Yeah.
So thank you for inviting me out to an event. I went to round 3.
Yeah.
It was amazing. My boys got a chance to come meet you. We got a chance to watch a bout. But you actually put the gloves on and started swinging.
Yeah, yeah.
Started swinging, right? So your boxing went from training to actually competing.
Mhm.
Just share a little bit about that, and then we're going to get on to round 3 here in 1 second.
Yeah, so for me, man, my journey in boxing, I started later in my life, man. Most people they start boxing young, 5, 6, 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I started when I was in my late 20s, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was 28 when I started boxing.
Mm-hmm.
And the catalyst of it was this is just me in nature, right? Like I'm the kind of person I got tired of the lifting, the normal gym stuff, right? You
Yep.
go to the gym, you
Yep.
lift, you do your quads, you do that,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, I need something that's gonna challenge me.
Yep.
And I did a boxing workout at LA Fitness on the west side of Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just in there. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm wearing $12 Everlast gloves. And I had someone come in there and his name was Richard Gorman. Shout out to the champ.
Yep.
He's a good catalyst. And he
Yep.
was in the gym and he
Yep.
said, "Hey man, let me work you through a workout." Man, I did a 20-minute workout with him and just doing boxing. I almost threw up.
Yep.
I was like, is something wrong? I'm about to pass out.
Yep.
And like that was where I was like,
Yep.
I fell in love with it.
Yep.
And I was doing things around the city, and I tried out at a couple gyms. I had a couple coaches before Susanna,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't really bring it out of me.
Yep.
Like I was learning with other trainers and coaches, I was learning that two things. I can learn that I could take a punch, so
Yep.
I didn't have like a glass jaw because
Mm-hmm.
there's really nothing you could do around that.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I learned is like I knew how to just be thrown in the wolves and just
Yep.
fight.
Yep.
That's all it was. It was
Yep.
like gladiator style. The moment I got with Susanna, the first time I came into her boxing gym on the and shout out to SRG Boxing on the
Mm-hmm.
west side of Indianapolis. If you're looking for a great boxing gym, SRG Boxing, type that in Google, you'll
Yep.
see it.
Yep.
Susanna, the
Yep.
gym is great.
Okay.
I walked in there. The first thing that she did was like, "We're gonna take you back down to the foundations." I didn't
Mm-hmm.
learn to jab. I didn't learn how to block. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
learn any of this. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't taught the foundation. I
Mm-hmm.
was thrown to the wolves to
Yep.
fight.
Go fight. Go swing.
She spent 8 months before I even sparred anybody, and
Mm-hmm.
I would come into the gym, and she'd be like, "Chris, you're gonna work an hour and a half just throwing a hook.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're gonna do."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there like, "Man, what is she doing?" When
Mm-hmm.
that and from that point, she tapped into directly like I was looking for that mentorship. I was looking for that expert
Mm-hmm.
to teach me and said, I got passion,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hungry,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna work hard, and I'm a relentless. I just need somebody to show me the direction.
Yep.
And Susanna gave me
Yep.
that,
Yep.
man.
But we're going to talk about that a little bit because you talked about you talked about getting into this workout that
Yep.
you kind of just got into, and you was like, man, this boxing workout, man, really threw me off. So I'm telling this story because it's shocking how some people who go and do a workout and they get nauseous and they get lightheaded and they go, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, that was
Ooh, I
me.
need more of that.
That was me.
That's not normal because people are like, what? Like, I am never doing that again. Am I
Yeah,
lying?
yeah,
You're like, bring it.
yeah.
Man, I'm like that too. I'm thinking, listen, I've already planned on going to just throw up. I'm gonna go do a workout where it's gonna make me puke. Listen, and that's when you tell that story to people, I'm nodding at you. Somebody's like, I'm never boxing ever. That's the difference though. That's that 1%.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you look and now you've met mentors,
Yep.
you've now developed a skill, because you have to, as a person like you that's had 3 exits and has a business that is a thriving professional, you got to find this edge. And
Facts.
that's me personally.
Yeah.
You have to find this edge where it's like, you can't break me, but
Mhm.
I want to get there so that I can grow.
Yep.
Think about that.
Yeah.
You can't grow, like you said, I'm in these gyms, I'm doing this, I ain't growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The edge is where you grow, Chris. You feel me on
Facts.
that?
Facts. Yeah, you got to get outside that comfort zone, man. And I think to me, and this is the thing I love about our conversation, man, is like I run towards the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that came from my life, man. Like, bro,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up single parent background.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in my family went to college. My mom worked 3 jobs. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up poor in the
Yep.
hood. It
Yep.
was survival.
Yep.
It was like it wasn't sunshine and
Yep.
roses and no silver spoons. It was like you got to fend for yourself.
Yep.
So
Yep.
for me, man, I just think that correlates in life, man.
Yep.
Is like, life always for me is life starts outside your comfort zone,
Mhm.
and that's how you expand out.
Yep, yep. But you got a lot to look back on and be grateful for, man. And so, I'm just now getting to know you, but I'm extremely proud of what you've kind of created for your life, man. And this is for anybody that's listening, anybody that's doing their thing, man. Like there are people who are out here who can tell you, you look back on it, that might have seemed like a bad situation, but this is how I grew, right? This is
Yes.
how I put pieces together. So Chris, this is my favorite part of the show, right? Like the coach's take is built on giving a take to someone that you got to mention them by name,
Yep.
but someone who has built into you, who has helped shape you, and we're going to give them their roses today or their flowers today, but we want to also acknowledge how some of the things that they share with us and taught us, we use that in our practice today. So this is where you give a take to somebody and give a shout out, but I'm going to turn over to you to give your take on a mentor or coach. Give me your
Man,
take.
number one person, absolutely. We kind of talked about it earlier. Susanna
Mm-hmm.
Rodriguez Griffin. Susanna, what you've given me is more. I was just talking with you today,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like you're not just a coach of a boxing coach, right? At that time of my life, at this time of my life now,
Mm-hmm.
we were Susanna. You're gonna remember this. We were just sparring a couple weeks ago, and I remember walking into the gym to you, Susanna. And I said, Susanna, I have spent 4 transitions of my life through this gym, like professionally,
Mm-hmm.
personally. I was like, I spent 4 lives through here,
Mm-hmm.
and I think what she's given me is a great life coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you've taught me, what you've instilled in me, that I can never repay you of what you taught me
Mm-hmm.
and what you've given me and those countless hours. And when you maybe run on the treadmill and when you
Mm-hmm.
work me mitts all the time and you're like, Chris, you got to spar for 2 hours, or you throw me in those situations. The lesson learned I had from some of the fights, I
Mm-hmm.
carry that with me because you taught me and instilled in something with me that I can never repay you to give back.
Mm-hmm.
And I look on it now and it's like I did a post about this and we talked about it. Like at the moment of my time in life, I needed the expert. I was looking to the CEO, which was you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the student. And now we look back and now you're starting La for promotions. You just did your round 3 boxing. And it's like the student now becomes the mentor in the business side.
Wow.
And we talked about this as well. Is like that's full circle. I
Mm-hmm.
started off as a student, and what you gave me, all those years of boxing, all that training, all that sweat and tears, the Facebook memories that pop up of me training, to now you starting a new chapter in your life with La Helfa and me at Fresh FP&A as a business owner to be able to help you in that journey. That's full circle. So
Wow.
that's 100% the person I want to highlight. Susanna Rodriguez
Yep.
Griffin, owner of SRG Boxing
Yep.
and founder of La Helfa Promotions.
Yep. Yep. That's that full circle. That took me. It took me a second to just kind of process that, right? Because and it's like the student can never be greater than the teacher, but sometimes we can teach in a different way.
Facts. That's it.
You see what I'm
That
saying?
hits. That
Because we
hits.
all have specific skills that are our superpowers. You feel
Mhm.
me on that?
Mhm.
And so now we can do now out of gratitude, it's easy to deploy. And you probably the some of the things that you probably give them out of a different emotion.
Facts.
Could be out of love,
Yep.
could be out of gratitude. You see what I'm saying? When we work with people, sometimes it's just a transaction.
Mhm.
You got to do it because it's my job, or I got to do it because this is what I'm assigned to. This is how I get paid. But when you do something out of that different emotion, man, that's what I love about it. That whole thing. Just like, man, I was waiting for you to drop it because we had talked about it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I just to highlight what you said, man, like that coming from a place, and I always think like when you go through that emotional cycle and it's like, man, I was just literally talking to Susanna today, like
Mm-hmm.
talking to her today about we're getting ready to go to Colombia, that she's
Mm-hmm.
got a whole nother like moment that she's about to go through. And I'm
Yep.
like, Susanna, I'm right there with you. You got a team right there with you. And it's just like those moments of life when you could, and this is what I talk about. This is the CFO side of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like most people think about ROI in the terms of return on investment. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting in time into something. How much am I getting back?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But what this moment has capitalized to me, and I think what my ROI means, not only in life, but also in our fresh view of finance,
Mm-hmm.
return on impact. Like that's a whole nother level of life when you can't think about like, oh yeah, if I give you $1,000, you're gonna give me $1,500 back.
Mm-hmm.
When you can think about that $1,000 and say, go make an impact.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
that kind of investment thesis and that kind of way of looking at impact that you can have, and it don't always necessarily have to be financial, right?
Yep.
Like you showing up at the round 3 boxing for Suzanne. I said, hey, I got a great guy coming. I want you to meet him. This guy's great. That is ROI, man.
Yep.
And that return on impact is the maximum level that you can get in life.
Yep. And I wanted to see it in person. The first of all, she was fighting, so I
Yep.
wanted to see that. My boys love boxing. At the same time, you and I got a chance to meet. But I want to kind of leave the listeners on that bit there, right? Show up. You know what I mean, be there in person. Get an idea of what it is for real. That return on impact.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I'll share with you that the fights that we watched made an impact on my sons. They wanted the videos, they wanted to check it out. You know, it was win-win on both sides. And that return on impact, if anybody takes that away,
That's it, man.
show up for people and be there in people's lives, and that's worth way more than money, in my opinion. How about that?
100%, man.
Yes, sir.
100%.
Yes, sir. Well, Chris, man, it is a pleasure. This thing goes by fast, man. This goes by
Fucking this out.
goes by.
Just warmed up, man. I
Yeah,
feel
we
like, man,
just
I'm ready for
round
some moves,
one,
man.
round one. Well, let's do this again. How
Yeah.
about that?
Absolutely,
Yes, sir.
absolutely.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Evan, thanks for your time. If
Absolutely.
anybody want to looks up, learn more about Fresh FP&A, what we're doing, check us out on all socials. It's
Mm-hmm.
just Fresh FPA, Frank Paul Apple.
Yep.
If you want to learn more about how we can help you grow your business with financial clarity and confidence, visit our website www.freshfpa.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yep.
I actually answer my messages,
Yep.
so if there's anything we can do to help and support, and for all those listeners, man, keep pushing, never settle, and the best is yet to come, man. Let's get it.
Love it. Love it. Well, Chris, we're gonna sign off here. That is a wrap for Coach's Take.
Thank you so much.